Welcome back to the Dopey Show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer. This is Sasha. I spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I need to get put in prison. Also got quite a few stories about the wild stuff that actually happened when I was in federal prison. And God forbid you end up in prison. You want to make some of the same mistakes I made. So on my second channel, I've got Austin DeAnda's fight. The kid is 19 years old. 10 wins, 0 losses, 6 KOs. He's going to be a star. This was a fight that opens him up to huge fights, like, in big spots, on being on big cards. Okay, the kid's special. 19 years old, 10-0 with 6 KOs. He put on a show last night. There's a lot of trash talk leading up to it. They were talking trash the whole time. If you watch Nate Diaz fight, how he talks trash the whole time, Austin's talking trash the whole time. Okay, the other guy's talking trash back. He's getting lit up. And he's doing the Ali shuffle, stinging the guy and everything. My buddy Owen got screwed on that. I'm going to do a video on that on the other channel talking about that. He was fighting somebody who knew he was going to whoop him. Owen's 6-1, I believe, and he avenged his only loss in his previous fight. But last night it was against a guy who knew he couldn't beat him. So at the start of the fight, it seemed like the guy turned his head. And as soon as Owen touched him in the back of the head, he's like, I can't continue. So basically the guy didn't want to get a butt whooping. So it became a no contest, and the guy got his money and got to go home. Scott, his coach, I'm pretty sure he's going to challenge that and do everything he can to get the athletic commission to hold that guy's pay. But anyhow, so talk about this story. So this is a wild one. I ended up in the regional jail, the night that everything happened. The night that I saved Brian Goble's life, did CPR on him, kept him alive till EMS got there, had warrants out, they took me to jail. The night everything happened, I went to the jail. I faked a seizure so that I could avoid opiate withdrawal. I laid on the ground, I made myself throw up, and I laid next to it because I didn't want to go through opiate withdrawal. And they hit me with the Halidol IV. I was unconscious for probably 5-6 days. And that was the majority of it. That was the majority of the sickness. I still didn't feel right for probably about three months after it was rough, and 6 months after I didn't feel normal. But like the hard part, that part where every 10 minutes you're throwing up, I kind of bypassed that part that time. I went through it plenty of times though. But anyhow, so when you go through that, when you're on any kind of like detox, something like that, they don't let you out in general population until the majority of that is done. So when I woke up, I was in the bubble room. The bubble room is like when you say you're going to do something yourself, like you're a danger to yourself, they put you in this glass room, typically with a paper suit. I wasn't a danger to myself, so they didn't put me in a paper. I got to keep my jumpsuit and all that stuff. But I wake up in this glass room, it don't even have a toilet. There's a hole in the floor you got to go in. I held it for 3 days. I knocked on the door in the middle of the night. Hey! Guard woke him up. I said, please don't make me go. See this jumpsuit? I'm not a risk. Let me go in one of these cells. He's like, okay. And I'm like, really? Thank God. Imagine squatting over a hole and going doo-doo in it. That'd be awful. And it's a glass room. Anybody walking by see you, squatting down trying to poop in a hole? Oh, Lord, that would have been awful. But anyhow, so they moved me to the range where it's, basically the hole. It's the hole, and I had to stay there for probably, I think it was about another 5 to 7 days, probably about a week. So I spent about 5 days in that bubble room, which I was unconscious. Apparently I was standing up swaying, looked like I was going to fall, because I had friends that got put in intake arrested during the time I was in there, and they told me about it. Oh, Lord, wild stuff, but it bypassed the dope sickness. So they put me on this other range, and it's all the way at the end of the hall, the place where I end up. And it's in a cell, it's single cell, and I'm still going through it. Like I said, the majority of the awful stuff was done, but I still felt like I was dying, could barely eat, everything else. The one thing they had on the cookie, ADD, like dyslexic or something. The one thing they had on the tray was these like square cookies, like square cookie dough. 2 big old squares. It's perfect, like almost. Oh God, that was good. And then they never had that again the rest of the time I was in there. The regional jail has the worst food on the East Coast, according to a counterfeiter. Sweeney, my buddy who was in federal prison, counterfeiter, he's been in 22 county jails across the East Coast. He says the regional jail in Salem, Virginia has the worst food of any jail he's been in. He's been in 22 jails across the East Coast. I think his opinion matters. Tell him the truth. So the guy across the hall from me, I see this fella, this Asian fella, and we get to talking. Well, I didn't realize who he was at first, but let me tell you a story of basically what happened. I don't usually name names of people just out of respect. Okay, I don't feel like it's my place to name the names. I will tell a story and I will change the names, but it's just a respect thing for me. Okay, and this isn't hard to figure out. So I mean, if you think about the area I'm from and type in certain, it's not hard to figure out. So basically, there's a guy who has already completed like 7, 8 years of school in college, and he's from China. Now, students that come over here, obviously, if you're a foreign student that comes to this country, it's going to be a little hard acclimating. So the other students from whatever country usually are very welcoming, and they're usually they're suggested as friends to the new people that arrive to help show them the way. So this guy is a TA, a teacher's assistant even, which, that's a very social job and everything else. So he's doing well, everything in school. This girl shows up, and they get him to, try to help show her the ropes. He falls in love with this girl, like head over heels in love. I think he's kind of socially awkward, but so basically what ended up happening was he wrote her this love letter saying he'd do anything for her. He thinks she's the most wonderful, and just professing his love to her. Well, what was found later in his residence was a letter that he had written, or that she had written back to him, that was very, very polite. And all it said was, I think that you're an incredible friend, but I have a boyfriend. So, since I have a boyfriend, I can't be with you, but I think you're an incredible person and you'll find somebody amazing. That type of deal, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't be mad at that. She didn't shoot him down. She didn't talk trash, nothing like that. But apparently, like, some people, like, see a girl and it's like, I've got to have that one. And it's like this weird thing with some of these people that aren't mentally there. And it's crazy that this guy's a smart guy. He's incredibly smart, okay? He's completed 7, 8, 9 years of school. Basically, working to get the doctor in front of his name at this point, okay? He's not just some dingbat, loony person. He's incredibly intelligent. Socially, where he might have grown up, it might have had something to do with, just how we interact here. It might be different from over there and everything else. I don't know exactly what's up with that. But what happened after that was horrific. Just terrible. So basically, at this college, there is a cafeteria. And he walked in that college. She had tried to defend herself, but ultimately failed. And when the police got there, he was holding her head in his hand. Yeah. Whoa. That's pretty wild. Okay. So, yeah, he got arrested. That made huge national news, infamous. What was crazier, though, is from everything that I've read, everything that I've known after the fact, including just now going over the facts, it seems like this cafeteria full of people saw him come in there, and they didn't do anything to try to help her. So much so that, it sounded like, it's going to take a minute to do what he did to, sever completely. It sounded like they just kind of watched in horror. You know what I mean? If I saw something like that just straight up, I'm gonna bash somebody in the back of the head. I'm not just gonna sit there. I'm gonna do whatever I can. That's jump into action, especially man on woman violence. I don't like that. I don't put up with that. But this was just something that seemed like everybody was a big wuss and didn't do anything to help her, which is crazy. So we're having conversations back and forth. I'm in a little like delusional state because I'm still in the withdrawal thing, and I'm going so bored and crazy by being back there in this solitary confinement before they release me. Of course, I know that opiate addicts do not get methadone or anything like that when you go to jail because they know you won't die. So basically they just laugh at your suffering. It's sick. It's disgusting. They should have some sort of protocol. And I know some people think the tough love and all this stuff. No. Okay, addictions, it's something that should be done to taper people off, okay? Because there are some people in there. There was a guy in there in particular. They don't allow, they allowed Lortab, I think, a couple fives like multiple times a day. They took a guy who was in there. I think he was in there for I can't remember. It wasn't anything crazy, but he was on oxy 80s, and they switched him to Lortab. So basically, he went from like 3 oxy 80s a day or whatever he's taking to a few Lortabs a day. Could you imagine? people like that, too. Not everybody, is just out there, doing awful stuff as an addict. Some of us just have a problem. But anyway, I knew that. So I told them that I was addicted to alcohol and benzos. When I first showed up at the jail, before they even got me there, I told them I hadn't had my Xanax, I'm going to have a seizure. And then that's why I was preparing them for when I faked my seizure. But I also knew that they would give me benzos if I told them I was an alcohol and benzo addict. I wasn't. I don't think when I got arrested that I had drunk, in my whole lifetime, I had drank more than probably 20, 30 beers in my whole lifetime. It was harder to get. Back when we was a kid, we'd get dope. Getting the dope man to drive 2 blocks to the store, it's amazing how lazy dope men were. It'd be easier to get drugs than it would be a couple beers. So anyhow, they give me the Ativan, which is helping tremendously with the withdrawals, but the majority of it, they're going to keep me back there while they're giving that to me because, they don't want you passing off everything else, and also they know you're in a compromised state. So, I'm getting so bored, I put my mat up against the wall, use it as a punching bag, everything else. I didn't know nothing about fighting back then like I do now. I didn't know nothing about it, so, it's probably just pitiful. It probably looked like I was having another seizure punching this thing, and, I don't know. So, we get to hollering, talking back across the way, just talking about different stuff, about how bad it sucked and everything else, and he's talking about certain food items he liked on there and everything else, and, told me about the commissary, how you could, put in a slip and all that, So, this place, you get commissary multiple times a week. I think they came like 3 times a week, commissary. It had big business commissary. You could order whatever you wanted. See, they charged $1 a day. The jail did. So, if you didn't have but $60 coming in a month, you're only going to spend 30 of it. Well, it doesn't hurt me, not a thing. So for people to put money on my books and for me to just let them do it, order their stuff. Okay, I had the money from, there's a house that I have to rent out. It's a crappy house, but it pulls in a little bit of money. So I had money from that came in, so I could eat good. So that 30 for me, I'd let people put money on my books and just order what they wanted. I'm not giving them nothing, but the money they had, I'm letting them spend. I'm not charging them the $1 a day. I'm letting them get past that because they got so many dollars a day, it adds up to where they can't ever pay it off. You don't pay it for, a couple hundred and people aren't giving but 20 a month. Ain't going to do nothing. So I'll let people do that. But this guy ended up telling me how to, across the way. We were directly across from each other, the window, so we hollered through the door. And, he told me about that, helped me figure that out. And so we get talking, I realize, I know who you are. I said, you mind if I ask you a question? He's like, and I'm like, is it cool? And he said, yes, go in. And I said, why'd you do what you did? And he said, I can't remember. I can't remember anything that happened. I don't know. I'm like that, I don't know. And then, but like me, I keep picking. So we talk. He's the only person I got to talk to across all from me. The way this is set up is it's not like a pod. It's like this is just the silent, like the hole is just a hallway. Okay, so at the end of this hallway, I'm the last cell. And he's the last cell over on this side. So we're facing, it's the only person I got to talk to. And there's nothing in there, nothing. No books, no anything. You have nothing but yourself and your thoughts. It is, oh God, it's agonizing just to think about it. But anyway, I kept on. Every now and again, I'd wait till I could feel him, and then eventually got more comfortable with me, and it didn't seem like I was like judging him. And to be honest, despite how despicable everything that he did is, and what I think about it, at that time, just having somebody to talk to was nice. Okay, I'm freaking out. I don't know what is going to happen to me. I saw that each charge carries 5 to 40 years, which is the stupidest thing ever. I don't know why they say it carries 5 to 40 years. Okay, so I think I'm going to spend 10, 15 years minimum in state prison, but if it carries 5 to 40, the guidelines for my charge were like something like 6 to 15 months. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that meant the best thing possible was maybe they combine them all together and I do 5 minimum on the state charges. I didn't know nothing about the federal charges at this point. I hadn't orchestrated that, but so yeah. So I'm stressing out about that. I think I said, I thought I was going away for minimum 5, probably 10 years right there. It's ironic because I ended up getting 8 years federal time, but I got out on bond for 2 years in between. But anyhow, for the state charges, I spent a year and a month in that jail, and I did drug court, which was excessive. That was the high end of the guidelines. So as we're just hollering back and forth, he don't know anything about drugs or anything like that. You know, this is a goody good student, a bookworm that did something awful out of nowhere. So I asked him again, you know, man, what happened? What made you? He said, and he went on to tell me basically more in depth. I could try to say more, but basically what it was he said, I loved her. I loved her with all my heart. She didn't love me back. It made me crazy. And that's why I did it, you know, and I'm like, oh man, it's wild. So upon further inspection, on looking up some of this stuff about this guy, it sounded like, you know, his landlord said he was a little bit off too. He had a couple roommates, but he refused to turn the heat on. He refused to turn the heat on in the house. I guess it was cold where he was at in China, you know, and he liked the cold or something, just was bundled, I don't know. But he wouldn't turn the heat on to the point where it froze the pipes and the pipes burst. See, his landlord put in a thermostat that was automatically starts at 65 degrees and it has to stay on. So then it wouldn't burst the pipes again. Well, they said he just went and flipped the breaker so then it wouldn't work. Can you imagine how cold it was in that house? His two roommates. I mean, he must have been a little bit scary. I mean, somebody had a house 40 degrees. I'll be like, listen, man, this ain't working. No. Don't touch that thing again. Touch it again. Actually, do touch it again. Touch it again. Have me sitting here look like an Eskimo? No, I'm not doing that. You know, hate extreme cold, hate extreme heat. But tonight, turn the thermostat on where the pipes burst. You know how cold that must have been? I mean, she was below freezing. I mean, okay, it's got to be 32 or less outside. If the pipes are bursting, okay, think about that. I'm going to turn the heat on. So anyway, wasn't a terribly long time, but it was roughly 5 to 7 days that we were across the hall from each other. And yeah, it's the only person I talked to hours a day for that time that I was in there. I'd completely, you know, I'd forgotten about this, you know, to talk about this, but I mean, it's a pretty wild thing. I said out of respect for people, I'm not going to name the person, but he ultimately did end up getting a life sentence, as he should, with no possibility of parole. And they don't have that in Virginia. Virginia, there's no parole. Basically, the time you get is Commonwealth. You don't want to get in trouble, Virginia. You got to do 85% of that thing. If you get a misdemeanor, you got to do 50% of it. If you get felony, it's 85%. Now, yeah, some wild stuff. Some wild people have come across just in passing, just by chance. It's crazy. And I'll tell you something else he said. He made me laugh. You know, I didn't realize how busted I was physically. I was like skinny fat at 135, 140 pounds back then. And he looked at me one day and he says, I can't remember, I think it was 8. He said, I can do 8 push-ups now. And I said, my man, where you're going to need to do a lot more than that. You know, he said he could do 8 push-ups. He was so happy to tell me that. Lord have mercy. Oh man, he was worse off than I was. He wasn't even doing no drugs. Shoot. Anyway, if you liked the video, press the like button. If not, it's 18 minutes and 50 seconds of your life, which you'll never get back. I hope you did like it, though. Check out my second channel with Austin Deanda. That kid's going to be a star. I mean, you watch this fight, you watch this kid move. I mean, it was a master class. He put on a clinic at 19 years old. And my buddy Owen Hilton, yeah, I'm going to be going down there and doing some stuff. Owen's a good guy. I talked to him last night afterward, you know. I ain't seen him in a bit, you know. He became a good friend down there when I was going down there 3 times a week. Him and Scott. Scott's incredible. Cujo's his nickname. Scott's his actual name. Scott Sigmund. Fought Roy Jones Jr., Kelly Pallett, former WBC champ. Couple of divisions, I think, different, like NABF or something. I don't know all that. But there's so many belts and boxing. But anyway, he's fought some top guys and he's got over 50 pro fights. Scott's the man. Okay, and he's a good coach, good mentor to Austin and Owen. So check that out. I think you guys will like it. I really do. Oh, and congratulations to Austin. Austin, after he won the fight, which 10-0 is going to open up huge doors. This was a huge moment. He proposed to his girlfriend, so he's engaged now. 10-0, opening the door for the big fights. Possibly, who knows, out in Vegas somewhere, might be on the undercard for something. And he got engaged. Like, this was a night that, and he was the main event. 19 years old, man, whole world in front of him. And Owen's going to be something special too. He avenged his only loss in his previous fight. Last night he got screwed. Just a no contest on his record, but that guy's a coward for that. So if you liked it, press the like button.